making bread. I have store-bought flour here. It's unbleached, just regular flour. I would like to use wheat and grind it myself. I don't have an electronic or electric grinder. That's something I'm gonna have to get, but they're kind of expensive. So, but that would be the ultimate in self-sufficiency, and that is to have your own wheat, grind it, and make bread. Because everybody eats bread. Anyway, so what I have here today is something to kind of help make it a little easier, because making bread can be kind of time consuming. So what I have today, I got this book, and it is Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. And basically all it is it's a wet dough. You make it, you let it rise for a couple of hours, and then you stick it in the refrigerator, and then each day you can keep this wet dough, it's called, in your refrigerator, and break parts off of it and put it into the oven and bake it. And each day you're going to have bread. And fresh bread, not only does it make the house smell good, but it's great. Stuff you're buying on a store is probably a couple of days old, and it's full of all kinds of other stuff. And fresh bread is flour, yeast, and here I have some kosher salt, and also over here I'll just show you real quick some cornmeal that you want to put on the bottom when you want to put it on like a when you're putting it in the oven. You want it on the bottom. It helps for transferring. It's almost like a pizza. When you have a pizza peel and you put the bread on it, or pizza dough, and slide it into the oven. It's easy, makes it easier to get it off and get it transferred onto, hopefully, if you guys have one, not a bad investment and not too expensive, but like a pizza stone or a bread stone, and you keep it in your oven. Now, ultimately though, really, the nice thing would be is to be able to take wheat, grind it, make this, okay, and then actually bake it in a solar oven or some sort of camping oven. And once you've done that, like I said, you only have to do it once or twice, and just kind of practice with that. Then if you don't have power or something happens, that you can make something. Make that bread. Like I said, in the last video, I have family members, and they still do not have power from this past hurricane, and they don't have. They're like running out of food. So I've got friends and some other family members taking them food. And I didn't mention this in my last video. The reason why they didn't want to leave is because where they lived, there's a lot of people that don't have power, and they were worried about, believe it or not, looting. They were worried that somebody would break into their house. So that's one of the reasons why they didn't want to leave their home. So anyway, this, like I said, you need warm water. Yeah, you need to put yeast in. I don't know if you can see that from over here. It's 2 packets of yeast, live active yeast. What's really interesting about this yeast, and I'm sure anybody that's made bread before will probably say, oh, you can't do that, but I've always had yeast on hand just for making bread, and they have expiration dates on them, and I've always thrown it away. But I've discovered that expiration date isn't really that accurate. You can actually probably keep it a lot longer than what that expiration date says. So, but luckily that has a year. Yeast in, salt in. I have a knife here. Just kind of let it stir around there. And I'm just going to let that sit for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to add the flour. So stand by. Okay, so the yeast is in the lukewarm water, and that's what you need for it to bloom or come to life, if you want to call it. You have to add some flour, and the recipe calls for 6, believe it or not, 6 cups of flour. So it's going to be a lot of bread. So I'm probably going to have to use 2 bowls. But anyway, you want to make sure that you pack it in there. And there you go. That's 1. And I'm going to do all 6, but I'm not going to bore you with it. So, alright, so all 6½ cups of flour in there. And as you can see, this bowl is probably going to be a little small. I needed to get a food container of some sort to put this in. This has to all be mixed in, and it's going to be a very wet dough. And then I'm going to let it sit and let it rise for 2 hours. So we'll take a look at it after it's risen. Okay, so here's the pizza dough. It has risen. You can see I've actually taken some of it out to actually make the loaf that you see in a little bit. It is kind of sticky. Like I said, it's a sticky dough. You kind of have to flour your hands and break off a piece and form it into a small little round ball of sorts. That should only really take like 30 seconds. You really don't want to knead this dough. And then you put it on your pizza peel, a very well floured pizza peel, and then you throw it in the oven for like 30 minutes or until it gets golden brown at 425 degrees. You also want to add a small container in there of water, because the water will help. It'll create steam, and it will help with the baking process. This is the loaf of bread. It smells really good. I had a bit of a problem. You're supposed to really have like a pizza peel, and I had this bamboo wooden cutting board that I'm using instead. I could not find a pizza peel anywhere. You would think Wally World would have it. No. I guess if it's not made in China, they don't have it. So, kidding. Yeah, so I tried to get it off of this thing, and it increased in size, and I didn't have enough flour and cornmeal that you put on here, and it helps it to slide off. The cornmeal acts like little ball bearings, I guess. And it got stuck, and I couldn't get the thing off, and so I made a bit of a mess trying to put it into the oven. But it smells really good, and it's kind of crusty. It's not exactly how I wanted it to turn out. Like I scored it, and it really, you can't really see the scores on it. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, YouTube.